I'm Carl Segno, and welcome back to the Open Source News. We're here with the second half of our first interview with Boris Khramtsov on homelessness and mobility at the edge of Burrard Inlet in Burnaby, British Columbia.
So how did you, you left on kind of a wacky adventure, and that led you to these encounters with train hopping and dreadies and Newfie poutine and squatter candles and the like. So tell us about that.
Where to start?
$40 is a good place to start.
Yeah, probably. So, here's one option for you guys. Next time you really want to see what it is like to live in Canada on the cheap, or how it is to live in Canada if you're really not well off at all, take $40 and make an agreement with yourself that at no point can there be more than $40 in your pockets. And you don't draw anything from your savings. You can earn money along the way, doing odd jobs and such. But anything over the $40 limit has to go in a savings account you don't touch.
And you would only let yourself replenish that $40
Exactly.
if you earn the money.
Of course, yeah. Only if you earn the money doing anything. Folding origami out of $5 bills to get tens. Helping people fix up houses, doing a video for homelessness.org. I mean, the list of things you can actually do is not quite infinite, but it's definitely pretty wide.
Labor Ready too. Talk about that.
Yeah, Labor Ready is, if you're going to be traveling on the cheap with zero money basically across Canada, Labor Ready is a resource that you definitely need to be kind of aware of. Now, if you've got some mad talents, like you're a really good busker, or you can fly a ridiculously awesome sign that will earn you $200 a day as is, you don't need to worry about that. But you know what? People who are at Labor Ready or at such temporary placement agencies, they are, in a lot of cases, that at-risk step that we forget about when we talk about homelessness. Because it is one thing to be homeless and not to have a home at all. It is a different thing to have a home, but one that you don't really have a steady home to support, a steady job to support. And it is also a different thing to have enough money for a home, but at the same time to be too consumed with your drinking problem to be able to actually save up enough money.
You've talked about the importance of low-cost housing in solving this problem.
Yeah.
That's linked to this issue of low income and that calculus that you play with keeping your own place or supporting a habit or...
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest barriers is to actually having a decent life in general is actually having a place to call your own. And until you don't have that, you don't realize how important it is. Or at least, you know it, but you don't understand it. Again, try at some point. Go ahead and live homeless for a month, If you're a student, a month out of your next summer, just go ahead and actually don't have a home. And that'll actually teach you quite a lot of things about life. Now, if you are, for example, working at Labor Ready or at any number of other organizations that exist that provide that kind of temporary work placement.
And incidentally, anyone who wants to move to a new city, this is a really good option to get yourself on your feet for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, if you got absolutely no money whatsoever. Then, it's not like you're having oodles of cash. I mean, if you work every day, at Labor Ready you can expect, like $50-$60, right? So $50-$60 a day, that's $250, let's say, a week. That's if everything's going well. That's $1,000 a month. Now, if you're, for example, looking for a place in Vancouver, where if you find a place for $400, it's super, super, super cheap, then that means that, you have $600 to live on. Unfortunately, that implies that you're working every single day, which is not really how these places work.
A lot of people talk about employment as if it's the really big problem in relation to homelessness in Canada. And we were looking at other factors like ethnicity, for instance, or drugs, or mental illness and that kind of thing. Considering that there's stuff like Labor Ready there on the ground, if you're able-bodied and let's face it, pretty capable and pretty durable too. It's not for everyone, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
What are the options for those people who can't take part in Labor Ready, and what's putting them in that position?
Well, for people who don't really have that option, for example, who have a debilitating illness, who are somehow disabled, or for example, even if you are severely addicted, I'm sorry, you don't have it in you to work for 8 hours a day. You need a break after 4 hours to have your next dose. So that's where it becomes significantly more difficult, and that's a really difficult group to actually get to help themselves, you know. That's where low-income housing is really, really, really becoming a huge, huge deal. Because what exists for those people now is stuff like homeless shelters. They can go into them and, you know, sign in and try to get welfare, etc., etc., etc. But, you know, a lot of the social nets that exist in Canada are really heavily dependent on actually having a permanent address where stuff gets sent. Again, if you don't have a home, that means you actually cannot really have welfare because there's no place for the check to be sent to. Or look at an example in some of the reservations in Ontario. The fact of the matter is, only one person per household can qualify for workers' compensation, the Ontario program. I don't remember the exact name of it. Now, if there's not enough housing to go around and there's 2 or 3 families in one home, that means, just like that 2 or 3 families have to live on one workers' comp, even if everyone else is eligible too.
Thanks for joining us for the first half of our interview with Boris Khramtsov. In our second half, we'll be talking about Canada's native population here on Burrard Inlet in Burnaby, British Columbia. This season, give the gift of user-created content by contributing your own news stories to the open source news. Thanks again for watching.